You're listening to the Championship Wrestling Podcast. And here's your host, Dustin Starr.
Welcome, everybody, to the Championship Wrestling Podcast. It is Christmas week, and I hope you're having a safe and happy holiday. Thank you so much for joining me on another happy Monday with another big guest. Hello, everybody. I am Dustin Starr, and Killer Bay Heather Monroe will join me in just a few moments. We're going to recap Saturday's show, we're going to tell you what's coming up for Championship Wrestling, and we're going to talk to Heather about her upcoming match that could very well sanction our first ever Women's Division Championship in company history. It's the biggest match in Women's Division history, and we're going to talk all about it with Heather Monroe in just a few moments. But before we get there, be sure to follow us at CW30 Wrestling on all forms of social media. Plus, you can keep up with me at Dustin Starr.
Championship Wrestling is presented by Pro Shingle, a professional roofing company.
Let's run it back with the Championship Wrestling Rewind.
Man, for the last few weeks, we've been seeing these training videos from the camp of Heather Monroe and Halston Body. You're going to see and or hear the highlights in just a moment, depending on if you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast provider. But these segments, they've been very entertaining. And if you don't know the full story behind this main event match that's taking place this Saturday on Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle, I'm going to chop it up with Heather Monroe in just a few minutes, and you'll get a better understanding of exactly what I'm talking about and how big this match really is. But before I talk to Heather, let's take a look at those highlights from Saturday. Last week on Championship Wrestling, in our Dave and Buster's Match of the Week, we crowned new #1 contenders for the United World Tag Team titles.
The Power Ballad, and they're on their way, not home sweet home, but to episode 500, and for a shot at the United Tag Team titles.
And the stage was set for the biggest match in women's division history.
What? Have you ever taken a chop?
What? Oh God, what the hell was that?
You gotta get used to it! Ruby Race hits really hard! For Heller!
Yeah! Yeah! We're gonna tell! What have I been doing to train? What have I been doing to train? This is what I do. I am a professional wrestler. Why don't you ask her what she's been doing to train?
All I've been doing is training for the past 3.5 years. Of course I'm ready. All I want to do is wrestle.
Everything that Nico has given me includes everything that Nico has, including this team. Nobody in their wildest dreams can even hope to match up to these two.
All that and so much more on the fastest hour in pro wrestling. Watch episode 90 in full at youtube.com/championship wrestling. I am so excited. Joining me at this time is resident mean girl and one of the most popular wrestlers on our program on Championship Wrestling. It's Killer Bay, Heather Monroe. How are you, Heather?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Isn't it funny? I say resident mean girl, but then you're also one of the most popular on the entire show.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm mean. I would say I'm pragmatic.
Well, you have been with Championship Wrestling and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. We've been watching you here in Memphis for almost 2 years, and I know that you've been with Hollywood even longer. First and foremost, this coming Saturday, you guys are celebrating 500 episodes. That's 10 years.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome milestone, especially for a smaller company that's doing TV, to have made it that long and to have produced as many stars as it has. And being a part of it has been really awesome, especially since I was a really big part of getting that women's division back up and running after many years of them not having one. So it's definitely a cool thing to be a part of.
Absolutely incredible. And I'm glad that you mentioned the women's division, because for these 10 years and those 500 episodes, there was not a women's division championship. Is that crazy?
Correct.
That's crazy, right?
There's never been a women's belt. I believe they did recognize the NWA Women's World Championship at one point, but there hasn't been an actual Championship Wrestling from Hollywood United Wrestling Network Women's Championship.
And you're doing just as big things as many as those people that you were talking about that have gone on to bigger and better things. I mean, you've wrestled for the NWA Women's World Title. You've wrestled on AEW Dynamite, AEW Dark. I mean, you've literally been everywhere. And this coming Saturday on the 500th episode Blockbuster Spectacular, you and Halston Body are in the main event. What does that feel like?
Yeah, it's a big honor to carry that torch and be the main event of that. But also it brings a lot of stress to me because obviously Halston is not a trained wrestler. It's an underhanded tactic to ruin the women's belt that me and Halston have been creating. But I'm very excited I feel like he's ready, and we'll be able to do what we can to hopefully get that women's belt up and running.
I'm talking to the Killer Bae, Heather Monroe, right here on the Championship Wrestling Podcast. And the last 2 weeks of training have been hilarious. It's been absolute television gold. I know there's a lot of stress on trying to train him up because he's not a professional wrestler, but how much fun did you guys have behind the scenes shooting this stuff?
It was a lot of fun. Obviously, me and Halston have very good dynamic. We bounce off each other really well. So it was really fun to go in and kind of come up with these ideas of what exactly we would be doing if in that case, and just having fun with it.
And there was a little bit of the bubbly that was popped during training. You and Halston were popping a little bit of champagne during the training, but hopefully at the end of the main event coming up on Saturday, you guys are popping the bubbly for a whole different reason, hopefully for a celebration.
Yes, hopefully that's the plan. That's why we got to motivate and think about that, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more once we're done with the match. Now,
this match, it's an intergender tag team match. It's a little crazy to me that Nico Marquez and Jamie Iovine, who Jamie, by the way, was partners of yours in the same group for all of last year, but these guys are literally against sanctioning a women's division title. Ruby Reyes and Cece Chanel, I don't know what's up with them going for this, but this tag team match is being billed as the biggest match in women's division history. If you and Halston win, the women's division championship is sanctioned. If Ruby Reyes and Cece Chanel win, no women's championship. Talk about pressure. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And I know, obviously, the odds are stacked against me in this one. I don't know what Jamie's deal is coming into this. I know Nico just is a misogynist. He's a sexist. He just wants it to be all about men all the time. But I have confidence in me and Halston. And I feel like Cece and Ruby will realize what's good for them once we beat them as well.
Awesome. Heather, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
Look out! Here's what's coming up for Championship Wrestling.
I've been wanting to talk to Heather Monroe on this podcast for quite a while. And thanks to her for finally coming on the podcast. And gosh, what better timing with the big main event match with it all on the line coming up on Saturday. And you know, she takes ownership of the women's division and its success. And rightfully so. But let's take a quick look at what's coming up for Championship Wrestling. First of all, I want to thank each and every person who came out to our very last watch party of 2020 at Dave & Buster's last night. Up next is the Royal Rumble, and that's taking place in January. Stay tuned for all the details on our next free watch party at Dave & Buster's in Memphis. But right now, you need to mark your calendar for the first event of 2021. Wrestling Trivia returns to Sidecar Cafe on Monday, January 4th at 7 p.m.
Don't forget, it's free to play.
It's free to play.
And if you register now at championshipwrestlingmemphis.com, you'll get a free appetizer.
That's exactly what I was just about to say.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're taking it a little too far. Wrestling trivia is always a ton of fun, especially at Sidecar Cafe. Now, if you are in the Memphis and surrounding area and you haven't been to Sidecar Cafe, you gotta go check it out. It's more important now than ever before to shop and to eat local, especially here in Memphis, Tennessee. Saturday at noon, as if I haven't already talked about it with Heather Monroe or throughout this entire program, it's part one of our 2-week blockbuster spectacular as we celebrate the 500th episode from Hollywood. 500 episodes, guys. 500 episodes over the course of 10 years. That's huge! What a milestone, and a big congratulations to David Marquez and his crew for pulling this thing off. Our next milestone is going to be our 100th episode. That happens on February 27th, right around the corner. We're working on something real special for that one. But speaking of special, Saturday's card was announced, and it could be the making of our best show of the year. Now, I know you guys said a couple of weeks ago when the Bodega won the United World Tag Team titles by surprise, that was the best episode. I heard that from multiple fans. But this Saturday, I'll put it up against any show. 3 big matches with championships on the line. Up first, Jordan Clearwater will defend the Heritage Championship against a man he's been waiting to get his hands on, Beef Candy's Richie Slade. And you know Flex is going to be at ringside. These guys were involved with the Will All Day Jordan Clearwater match on Saturday. They've really been egging Clearwater on because the rules state that he can't put his hands on Richie until this Saturday. That's a title match. Then, the United TV title is going to be on the line when Dan Joseph, the People's Champ, Dan the Man, he's going to get another opportunity at Levi Shapiro and Howdy Price for that United TV title. Now, Dan Joseph's hard to beat, but Levi Shapiro's been able to pull it off with the help of Howdy Price. So Dan Joseph's going to have to try to figure out how to win this match, basically 2-on-1. But he gets his chance this coming Saturday. And the big main event that we just spoke with Heather Monroe about, it's Heather Monroe and Halston Body in an intergender tag team match against CC Chanel and Ruby Reyes. And one would have to think that Jamie Iovine's going to be around there somewhere. And the Women's Division Championship hangs in the balance. If Heather and Halston win, we will sanction a Women's Division Championship. If CC and Ruby Reyes win, no Women's Championship. And it could be the darkest day in the history of championship wrestling and the Women's Division.
Saturday at noon, join us for Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle. The future of the Women's Division Championship hangs in the balance. That's Saturday at noon on CW30 Memphis.
Thanks for listening to the Championship Wrestling Podcast.
That's exactly right. Thank you so much for joining us here on another Championship Wrestling Podcast. Another thank you going out to Heather Monroe, the Killer Bae, for joining me. Best wishes on making history this Saturday. Who would have thought that we'd be cheering for Heather and Halston after the year or the 2 years that they've had here, wreaking havoc on the women's division. But history-making Saturday indeed. And if you want to be on the Championship Wrestling Podcast, or if you want me to have your favorite wrestler on, you need to hit me up. Tweet me right now. I know you're listening on your phone. Hit me up at Dustin Starr and let me know. And stay up to date and informed on everything Championship Wrestling by following us at CW30 Wrestling. And be sure to subscribe to our official YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Championship Wrestling. And there are some very, very fun classic episodes that have been posted. There is a 4-way elimination women's match that was posted just a few days back. All sorts of feature matches, and plus every single episode of Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle in full, absolutely free. I want to wish everybody a happy holiday. I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas. And we're going to see you on Saturday the 26th for part 1 of our big championship wrestling blockbuster spectacular. And until then, I am Dustin Starr, saying so long, everybody. Oh, yeah!
Happy holidays from all of us here at Championship Wrestling, presented by Pro Shingle.
We hope you made the good list just like me.
Yeah, right. We remember what happened last year.
Happy holidays!